My name is Lyle Menendez. I've been incarcerated 31 years. I am the kid that did kill his parents, and no river of tears has changed that, and no amount of regret has changed it. You are often defined by a few moments of your life, but that's not who you are in your life. Your life is your totality of it.
Infamous Menendez brothers, who together murdered their parents in their Beverly Hills mansion, where they spoiled rich kids run amok or enraged victims of sexual abuse.
Time for the world to know the truth.
My dad had been molesting me.
Menendez was obsessed man Manito.
Another alleged victim of Jose Menendez is coming forward with accusations of sexual abuse.
To immediately believe it had to just be about bad seeds and money and greed.
$14 million provides ample motive to some people to commit murder, and one sometimes does not need to look beyond that as a motive.
Not to break it down, my dad said, "All right, we'll deal with it tomorrow night." And my brother came home like frazzled, telling me the story. And I told him what had happened with Perry. Now we got to get out of this house. Let's talk about it somewhere else. And you're already fucking late. We're supposed to meet this guy at the movies. So I go to tell my mother, we're going to leave. We're going to the movies. I got plans. She goes, no, she gets real nervous. Tells me, no, you can't go. And I said, why? And she said, and she couldn't answer me. You can't go to the house tonight. You guys, it's too late. And my dad came storming through to the kitchen, pulled her aside, and just told my brother actually, because for some reason he had ended up standing next to me, told him, go upstairs and wait for me. And I looked at my brother and I said, no, you're not touching my brother, and we got into this big fight. And my brother left, went upstairs. And I said, oh man. And my dad, my mother came out and started saying something to me, and then my dad pulled her away and said, come on kitty, let's go in the room. And just looked at me, and then he closed the doors to the den. And you don't know my house too well, but you're not supposed to close the doors to that room. He closed the doors to that room. And, I mean, I can't describe it too well, but essentially I just panicked. And I just said, something's going on in the room. They've been waiting for my brother to get home. That's all this is. And they've been waiting. And I've been sitting here sitting duck, and they've been waiting for us to come home. He was coming home late, and was fucking up their plans a little bit.
Out of the house in Beverly Hills, we're driving about a block and a half up the road, and there's a blue Ford Taurus in the way with a red light flashing, and there's a guy running with, I think, a bulletproof vest and a double-barrel shotgun in front of the car. Lyle puts the Jeep in reverse and starts to back up slowly, and we hit something. And the next thing I know, I turn around, and it's a van, and 2 or 3 policemen come out with, police windbreakers on and everything, and they pull guns, and they just surround the Jeep, and they pulled us out one by one, put us face first on the pavement, and handcuffed us. And then they dragged me away into one of the police vehicles and said, do you know what this is all about? And I said, no, I'm sorry. I have an idea, because it started to click just then, after thinking about it for 15 minutes, what they could come out in such force about. And they said, well, Lyle's being arrested for the murder of his parent.
When I first came to the arraignment, I was so nervous, and so I walked out there, and Leslie made a joke, and it was so nerve-wracking that I smiled, and it was this defense mechanism that came out, but on the cameras, from then until the rest of eternity, have me smiling as if I think the whole thing is a joke. And ironically, exactly the opposite of how I felt, because behind the scenes, I can't stop crying. I'm on massive doses of antidepressants, and I just want to die. Instead, what's portrayed is this arrogant kid who thinks that this is all a joke, and who does he think he is, and what an awful person. And it's exactly the opposite of what was actually happening. Because the media attention became so extreme, there was no reconciling the trial with the district attorney. It became a fight with the Los Angeles County District Attorney's office that wouldn't normally have happened.
Erik was out on the lawn weeping in agony.
Donovan Goudreau told me
in March of 1992 that Lyle Menendez complained to him in April 1989, 4 months before the murders of Jose and Kitty Menendez, that Jose Menendez was sexually abusing Erik and Lyle Menendez.
He told me about his father.
Basically, he said that his father had been abusing Erik.
Yeah, him and Erik. And
Lyle also.
Yes, and we take baths and stuff. I just, oh man, you're right, it's great.
And what happened next?
He proceeded to indicate to me by touching himself down and saying that his dad and him had been touching each other down there.
He asked me if my dad ever gave me massages.
Was there something else he told you about the massages? Like where they were?
Yes, he did.
Okay. What did he say about where the massages were?
Well, he told me his father was massaging his dick.
I believe it. Straightforward. Because of the noises I heard coming out of the room, the fact that Kitty would not allow me down the hallway to find out what was going on, I wasn't allowed to see the boys right after they came out of the bedroom.
And what happened after that?
He became more serious and indicated to me that he was afraid of not sleeping downstairs.
Why?
Because he and his dad had been touching each other, and he indicated that it was in his area.
When he said this, did he seem like he was kidding around, or did he seem serious?
No, he was serious.
What did you do?
I went and got Kitty and brought her downstairs and told her what was going on.
You took it seriously enough to go get Kitty then?
Yes, I did.
And did you tell Kitty what Lyle had told you?
Yes, I told her what he had indicated to me, what he was telling me, what he was showing me.
How did she look? Did she look shocked? Or?
She showed that she did not believe me.
What did she do?
There's a look that she got when she didn't believe me. And that's just, it was obvious to me that she did not believe me. She went and got Lyle and took him back upstairs.
I would trade my entire defense for a 30-second video of my father raping me. I would trade my whole case for it. Because I think it's so sanitized and so easy to use the word abuse. Oh, abuse wasn't so bad.
Your experience or in your research, how often have you seen child molesters who were also heterosexual and homosexual?
Oh, quite often. The current trend in the literature on sex offenders is to suggest that sex offenders are polyperverse, meaning they engage in more than one type of sexually deviant act. Probably the best data we have are from studies by Dr. Gene Abel in Atlanta, Dr. Judith Becker in Arizona, and their colleagues, which suggests, for example, that about half of incest fathers and stepfathers are abusing children outside of the home at the same time as those stepfathers or fathers are abusing their own children. About 18% of incest fathers or stepfathers are raping adult women at the same time as they're having sex with their own children. So the old notion that people tend to do just one deviant act, in the last decade or so, we've come to recognize of this polyperversity, that people who have problems with sex tend to exhibit in lots of different ways.
Would she ask you how she looked?
Yes.
And sometimes when she asked you how she looked, would she be inappropriately attired?
She would be topless. Usually just topless or like an open robe. And sometimes, with her clothes on.
And what ages are you talking about where she would expose herself to you this way?
Objection, the question is leading and mischaracterizing the testimony.
Overall. I was about 11.
She help you with your baths?
Yes.
How would she help you with your baths?
She would come in after I'd been in there a while. She would help wash my hair. and wash me with a sponge.
How old are you talking about?
Same, 11 to like 11 to 13.
And when you say she would wash you with the sponge, would she just wash your back, or?
No, she would wash me everywhere.
She would wash your genitals?
Yes.
You slept in bed with your mom a lot, didn't you, even when you were little?
Yes.
And did you continue to sleep in her bed around this time when you're 11 and 12?
Sometimes.
And sometimes, did you touch your mom?
Yes.
Would your dad be in bed?
Sometimes.
And where would you touch her?
Everywhere.
Did she touch your back?
She kissed me, but she didn't touch me.
And how long did these things go on for?
Until I was 13, a little bit farther than that.
And when this was going on with your mom, was she nicer to you than she used to be?
No. She was worse.
And did it stop at some point?
It stopped a few months after I was 13.
Who stopped it?
I did.
How did she react to that?
She was furious and, you know, she couldn't be too much worse, but she harassed me, and we just sort of had arguments about and problems about that for a long time, a couple of years.
Was your
really for my whole life, because it came out in other ways too.
Your relationship with your mother was never good before that, is that correct?
No.
Was it worse?
Kitty had found out that Jose was having an affair. I believe it was with his secretary, that one. And he went on to have several other affairs throughout their marriage.
She really loved her husband. Yeah. Was she afraid of her husband? Was she intimidated by her husband, or was she just madly in love with him and his role?
I think that she was afraid of her future.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
I think she was raised to believe by my mother that she was going to marry well, get educated, and know her trade, marry well.
That's very important to the
It was very important,
family.
Very important. And when this came tumbling down, I'm sure that it, I mean, this is all she thought of all her life, which is this is what's going to happen, because she was told and she believed it.
She asked me one time when we were on our way home, it was just two of us in the car, how I was coping with having broken up with my ex-boyfriend at the time. And I said, okay, and then she shared with me, well, you know, I was going to marry this other man, and then I ended up marrying Jose, and I guess I made the right choice because look how much money Jose makes. That was her reason for being in the marriage.
She constant attacking.
Were you angry? Were you angry with her also?
Was I angry? I was very angry. I thought that it was unfair.
Why was it unfair?
Because we were doing this and she was enjoying it, and I was hoping that things were going to get better for our whole relationship, and things might get better, and she got worse.
Did you think she was going to love you if you did these things?
I took it to be love, and that's what I wanted.
Did you always have problems with her after that about your girlfriends?
I always had problems with her, with my girlfriends, yes.
And after all of this stopped with your mother, did she show you specifically that she was unhappy that it had stopped, or she was angry about it?
She harassed me.
What do you mean she harassed you?
She just kept exposing herself, picking me up at the clubs with, in a robe, exposed, leaving her underwear around, calling me into the room when she knew that she was, changing, asking me if she looked pretty, and called me a liar when I said yes. Sometimes she would be in a tantrum, and then she would come over and she would touch my face real gentle, like she was going to kiss me, and then she would go back into a rage. And she was very upset.
And when Peter Cano said, it's not the way to treat a child, Peter Cano was told to leave, and he did. And when Charles Wadlington, the coach, said, that's not the way to treat a child, he was told to leave. When Bill Curtin said, that's not the way to treat a child, he was fired. And when teachers tried to say, what you're doing is not right, Lyle was pulled out of their class. What was the message to Lyle Menendez about who was there to help him? What happened to the few people who would stand up to his father? They were banished. Kitty Menendez is the only one who ever fought with Jose Menendez. And she appeared to have done it for herself, but not for her children.
This is the crime of Erik Menendez. And I cannot show you the crime that Jose Menendez committed on him, but you heard about some of the things that he liked to do to his little boy. And one of them was to stick tacks like this in his thighs and in his butt. This was a home run by power. And this was a home in which the children of the family became so fearful, and where fear became the only emotion they were entitled to have, that when a crisis occurred in this family, fear is what guided them. Intimidating to adults, intimidating to people at work, intimidating to teachers, intimidating to coaches, intimidating to his friends. What do you think he's like to a 2-year-old, or a 5-year-old, or a 9-year-old, or an 18-year-old who has always been under his thumb? He is terrifying to that person.
Una persona que hace daño a un niño y más a un hijo no merece vivir. Yo entiendo la rabia, yo entiendo el odio de los hermanos Menéndez, porque yo estuve en esa situación.
So we went to bed or whatever, and we are making a long story short, but the next day we got up and my brother was gone, which is the way he was the whole weekend because he was too scared to be around the house even though he didn't want to run away. And so I just hung out at the house all day. And I went into the house and I asked my dad for the number to the Anand Armitage tennis camp that he'd been bugging me for like all summer to go to. And my dad told me, well, no, I don't know where it is. What does it matter anymore? And just kind of like without looking at me. And I couldn't tell what that meant. I knew it wasn't good, but then again, of course, our conversation Thursday wasn't good either, so I didn't expect him to be joyous to see me. And I don't know. So in any case, they kind of treated me like I was a ghost. That made me super nervous. But my brother wasn't around, and I figured I was safe parents are in bed, and they're waiting. Well, they look like, they were just kind of watching TV. But at that time, I didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know they were waiting. I just felt they were just watching TV or whatever, and I was just kind of real nervous. My brother gets home, and my dad had tried to get into my brother's room Saturday night. And my brother, because Beverly Hills Mansion has special locks on each door, locked the door. He couldn't get in, and he decided.
Los hijos Menéndez tienen mi edad. Y solo de pensar de que ellos están presos después de todo lo que ellos pasaron con el papá. Ellos pasaron cosas terribles. ¿Quién sabe esta cosa más terrible de las que yo pasé? Eso es lo que yo pienso. Ya es tiempo. Y la justicia tiene que trabajar rápido en este caso, en este proceso. Eso es lo que yo le pido a Dios.
They're 18 and 21. Why couldn't they leave?
Right. Well, certainly there was a path that they could have taken is to try to get away from the family. But it sounds like even at that age, they were very much under the control of their father still. I think that oftentimes what people are not aware of is that trauma completely rewires the brain. They probably did think at one point it was either them or their parents, that it was a fight or flight conditioning that had come up.
We'll spend the rest of our life in prison. If we're not put in the same prison, there's a good probability I will never see him again. And that would be very, very difficult to live through.
It's ridiculous to say that they shouldn't be together because they would commit other crimes. The probation report indicates they are not a danger or a threat to anyone.
I thought I understood the case at the beginning, and the last 30, 40 years hasn't changed any of that. Society's changed. I'm so outraged by the fact that stupid people everywhere bought this defense. I wanted to stress again the importance of following the law and not following public opinion, because it's clear to me public opinion right now in this country is pretty much shit.
It's understandable how a person would agree to have his voice recorded for the purpose of getting his own self-serving story before the public. He proceeded to tell his life story or give to Norman Novelli the information that he wanted to send out to the public. And within all of those 25 recordings, we found one nugget of information that hurts the defendant. When you look at someone like Lyle Menendez, you have to ask yourself, is he the type of person who would make a stupid mistake like that? And the answer to that is yes.
At the end of the letter, I write to my brother, please destroy this. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't gotten me in enough trouble already going to his room. I write, please destroy this. Please destroy this. And I go, Eric, why do you destroy it? Well, you know, it was such a nice letter. I wanted to show it to my attorney, so I hold on to it, and then I forgot about it. I'm like, oh my God. I'm obviously going to just be myself and affect him in a real positive way. Gave it to him as a gift. He goes, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, what kind of a piece of shit who says that he's your friend is gonna, how offensive is it? All the ones, baby, you wanna hear, 'cause you look so sweet and fine. I just got to make you mine. This guy's unbelievable. When he's testifying, Eric and I should be dressed in clown suits.
When he said, I'm telling you, Judalon, you'll get killed, he was just trying to bite that off from going, wasn't he?
They know who you are. We had no idea who she was. She was like a bad movie.
Yeah.
Like Eric's script. Eric's script is better than this. I said, he can't do that without bringing an actual shotgun in the courtroom, and the judge said, the judge is biased. Totally. He was a prosecutor 5 years ago in the only other case in Beverly Hills where a kid killed his father. And he lost. And the kid went home on the self-defense. The exact same case as ours, because the father was wealthy, and he argued that it was for the money, and he lost. And so he's out to get it. Plus, he fucked up the McMartin case, and he fucked up the officer case, the King case. He was the judge that let them go. So he doesn't want to be seen as a pussy judge. So, but he's pretty fair, though. He's going places. That's why he wants, a politically correct decision here. Which he's starting to wonder what is a politically correct decision.
You didn't testify in the second because?
I didn't testify in the second because I no longer had my lead attorney, Jill Lansing, on the case. She was quite devastated by the outcome of this case. She felt very strongly about what the truth was in this case. I had been sort of dragged into testifying and talking about what happened to me. I really desperately did not want to do it because of its effect on my family members and my grandmother at that time, my father's mother, who accepted what occurred but did not want to hear it in open court. It took everything I had to testify in that first trial. It was very difficult. When I got the result that we got, which was no result, I told my brother I wasn't doing it again. Is that I did not love my father or love my mother. That is the farthest thing from the truth. I miss my mother tremendously. I wish that I could go back and talk to her and give her a hug and tell her I love her and I wanted her to love me and be happy with me and be happy that I was her son and feel that joy and that connection, and I just want that.
To turn our attention to California, where next hour, Erik and Lyle Menendez will appear virtually for a hearing, a status hearing, in their continued quest to try to break out of prison.
Attorneys for the Menendez brothers are asking a judge to reconsider their clients' convictions. They are both serving life sentences for the 1989 murders of their parents, Jose and Kitty.
Let's bring in crime justice correspondent Matt Johnson, who has been following this case for a while. And now let's talk about today's hearing. There's different tracks, and frankly, it sounds like nobody knows exactly what's going to be accomplished until it actually takes place.
Yeah, good afternoon. What we do know is that the governor is not going to weigh in until after these hearings, these all-important hearings. Erik and Lyle Menendez set to appear virtually in court today, their first appearance in 28 years since being convicted of killing their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, back in 1989. Gunning them down in their Beverly Hills mansion made international headlines. This is the brothers' first major shot at freedom after the outgoing DA announced that they should be resentenced. Today's hearing status conference is to see if all the parties are still on track for next month's resentencing hearing that is scheduled for December 11th, or if it should be delayed, because here is what the newly elected DA told Court TV and Ted Rowlands. Take a listen. Bars. A judge this week could decide that the newly uncovered evidence in this case warrants re-examination of the convictions of the brothers. That evidence includes a letter Lyle wrote to family members detailing abuse by his father and the allegations from a Menudo boy band member that Jose Menendez allegedly sexually abused him when he was the head of RCA Records in the 80s. The Netflix series and the documentary on this case really propelled this case back into the spotlight after all these decades. Here is part of that press conference outside the courthouse with the current DA, Gascon.
I miss standing on an ocean and feeling the water roll over my feet. I miss feeling the scent of the earth and not being able to walk down a forest path, touch the tree, feel the bark against my fingers. It's difficult to know that I'll never be able to. And I don't want people to think that I feel like I'm entitled to. I don't. I'm not. I'm responsible for this tragedy, and so I have to live with the consequences of it. I just want to hope
that people can see my life for the totality of what it was and what got me to that place where I could ever emotionally kill the people I love.